High awake, unstoppable. How Hitler unleashed a zombie army on Europe. All right, folks, blast this video into your group chats so your buddies finally understand why history class used to be so damn boring. Smash that like button harder than reality hits on a Monday morning, and subscribe to Bullies Academy for more shocking truths they never taught you in school. And now, let's go. So guys, what kind of substances have you already taken today? Coffee? Energy drink? Cute. Hitler and his boys would have laughed at you. What if I told you that a huge part of history wasn't just shaped by ideologies or weapons, but by something entirely different that hardly anyone talks about? Today we're looking at a side of World War II that definitely never made it into your school textbooks. It's about a secret substance that kept soldiers awake for days and sent an entire country into a dangerous frenzy. And yes, it gets absurd, disturbing, and seriously shocking, and why the so-called Endsieg turned out to be just one really bad trip. The birth of a pill nation. It's 1938, and while other countries are debating working hours, Germany is developing the perfect fix for tired workers. A little white pill called Pervitin. The advertisement? Perks you up, keeps you awake, boosts performance. What they didn't mention, also makes you completely insane. But hey, details. The stuff was so popular that housewives popped it at coffee parties like M&Ms. A Berlin confectioner even launched meth-infused chocolates. Just imagine honey. Try the chocolate meth truffles. They'll really wakes you up. German society was basically on speed even before the first tank rolled out. But that was only the beginning of the madness. Otto Ranke, the first military drug dealer in history. Then came Dr. Otto Ranke, a military doctor with a vision that would have impressed even Tony Montana from Scarface. This guy saw Pervitin and thought, you know what? Let's see what happens if we put entire armies on meth. Ranke tested the stuff on students, solving math problems for 36 hours straight without sleep. No problem. These guys were so wired, they probably could have reinvented the theory of relativity if someone had let them. The result? Soldiers who could fight for 3 days straight without getting tired. Ranke's dream was born. An army of human Energizer bunnies. What could possibly go wrong? Blitzkrieg, when crystal meth wages war. September 1939, Poland. The Wehrmacht storms across the border like a tsunami of steel and speed. 35 million Pervitin pills just for the French campaign. That's over 8 pills per soldier. For comparison, modern meth dealers would turn green with envy. The French soldiers were standing in the Ardennes thinking, relax, it'll take them days to get through here. Then the Germans came charging in like Usain Bolt on steroids. 240 kilometers in 48 hours, through rugged mountain terrain. The French looked so confused, it was like someone had swapped their baguettes for dildos. Erwin Rommel was so high during his legendary breakthrough that he started hallucinating. The man wrote in his diary that he was hearing sounds that weren't there. No wonder, 48 hours without sleep on meth, then driving tanks through enemy territory. That's like playing Mario Kart while tripping on acid. Hitler, from vegetarian to poly-drug junkie. But here comes the ultimate peak of irony. While Hitler publicly preached the pure German body, he was privately the biggest junkie in the entire Reich. The man who called drugs a poisoning of the people's body had more substances in his blood than a techno DJ on the weekend. Responsible, Dr. Theodor Morell, Hitler's personal physician and probably the most successful dealer of all time. His colleagues hated him because he smelled like a homeless guy, but Hitler loved him because he had the best drugs. Priorities, you know how it is. Morell injected Hitler daily with a cocktail of 74 different substances. Amphetamines, cocaine, opiates, barbiturates, and my personal favorite, bull testicle extract for Hitler's low testosterone levels. The guy wanted to conquer Europe but needed bull testicle shots just to get out of bed in the morning. That's peak irony. The Fuhrer received up to 20 injections a day. For comparison, heroin junkies use fewer drugs. Hitler was so drugged up he probably would have tried to annex the moon if someone told him Jews lived there. The Finnish Terminator, 30 pills and a death trip. Now for the most insane Pervitin story of all time. Aimo Koivunen, a Finnish soldier who in 1944 proved that yes, you can take drugs the wrong way if you do it really wrong. The situation: Russian troops are chasing his patrol. He's exhausted and reaches for the emergency Pervitin stash. Normal dose, 1 pill. Koivunen's dose, all 30 pills at once. His logic? If 1 pill is good, then 30 pills must be 30 times better. Genius-level math. What happens next is pure comedy. Koivunen slips into a semi-coma and goes on to ski hundreds of kilometers alone in temperatures as low as minus 30 degrees Celsius. When he wakes up, he's 400 kilometers away, alone in the Siberian wilderness and completely out of his mind. 2 weeks of survival horror on the most intense meth trip in history. He fights off hallucinated wolves, steps on landmines and survives, eats raw birds, and accidentally burns down a cabin because he made the fire in the middle of the room. When they find him, 43 kilos, heart rate at 200, but alive. The man lived to be 71. His survival tactic? Just take so many drugs that death gets confused and leaves you alone. The End-Sieg drug, when meth isn't enough anymore. 1944, the Reich has fallen apart. So what do? Develop even harder drugs. The Nazis invented D9, a mix of Pervitin, cocaine, and other substances designed to keep soldiers awake for 4 days straight. Perfect for kamikaze missions in one-man submarines. Naturally, they tested it on concentration camp prisoners in Sachsenhausen. They were forced to march 40 kilometers a day with 20-kilo backpacks to test shoes, while actually serving as living lab rats for Nazi superdrugs. It's so disgusting, it almost feels like a bad movie. The irony? D9 was so potent that the test pilots completely lost their minds. They had created super soldiers who were so insane they attacked their own men. Mission successfully failed. Crystal meth versus coffee. Why the Allies were caught off guard. The Americans realized in 1941 that something wasn't right. They analyzed confiscated Pervitin and compared it to their own Benzedrine. The result? Holy shit, the Germans are fighting on crystal meth while we're drinking coffee. Picture this. Allied soldiers sip their morning coffee thinking, all right, I'm awake and ready for war. Meanwhile, German soldiers are blasting crystal meth into their veins, thinking, war? What war? I could fight 3 wars at once and still have time to dance. No wonder the early months of the war were so devastating. It's like playing chess against someone on coke. They make moves no one understands, but somehow they work. The big crash, when the speed runs out. But like every good trip, this one had to end. By 1941, doctors began warning about side effects: addiction, psychosis, heart failure, the whole package. German soldiers wrote desperate letters home. Mom, send Pervitin. Dad, sell the car. I need speed. Future Nobel Prize winner Heinrich Bull begged his family for Pervitin in a letter. Imagine reading The Lost Honor of Katharina Blum knowing this guy once begged his family for meth. Literature on drugs. Leonardo Conti, the Reich health leader, recognized the disaster and made Pervitin prescription only. His warnings completely ignored. The Wehrmacht was more addicted to its miracle drug than an influencer is to likes. The result? An entire army in withdrawal. German soldiers were shivering from cold and drug withdrawal. Double trouble never ends well. The bitter end, a junkie in the bunker. Hitler's final weeks in the Führer bunker were the rock bottom of a years-long drug career. Morell injected him daily with Eucadol, known today as OxyContin. Hitler wasn't just delusional, He was a severely opioid-addicted junkie playing World War. Picture this, the Fuhrer squatting in his bunker, completely strung out on opiates while Berlin burns outside, still planning the Endsieg. It's like sitting in a burning house and wondering which wallpaper to buy next. When the drugs ran out in 1945 and Morell was kicked out, Hitler was forced into cold turkey. Opioid withdrawal plus complete detachment from reality plus Russian tanks at the door equals not a great combo. In the end, he swallowed a cyanide capsule from his own dealer. That's so poetic Shakespeare would have wept with envy. The unbelievable irony of all this madness. A total of 740 million Pervitin pills were produced in Germany during the war. An entire generation on crystal meth. The so-called master race was actually just a bunch of crazed meth heads. The greatest irony in history? Hitler preached racial purity while having more drugs in his blood than a reggae festival. He wanted to prevent the poisoning of the national body, yet systematically poisoned his own people with industrial drugs. Pervitin was meant to make Germany invincible. In the end, it turned them into zombies. The drug that conquered Europe ended up destroying its conquerors from within. That's karma in pill form. Today we call Pervitin crystal meth, and it's ruining lives all over the world. Most users don't even know they're taking the same drug Hitler tried to conquer Europe with. History repeats itself, this time without tanks but with even more broken teeth. When drugs make history. In the end, World War II wasn't just a clash of ideologies. It was also the biggest drug binge in human history. An army on speed versus an army on coffee. Guess who won in the end? Correct. Reality. It always comes back, no matter how many drugs you take. The lesson from history? Drugs don't make you invincible. They just make you crazy enough to think you are. And that, dear friends, is an important difference. So, that's it for today. If this made you feel like studying history, go with coffee, not crystal meth. Trust me on this one.